Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking everything movies, TV, comics, and entertainment. Join in the conversation on social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go. Welcome to a very special edition of the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. And I do mean a special edition because when you see us, one, on Nerd Initiative YouTube, you know it's a big deal. Two, if you see we have Zoom hooked up, this is a super big deal. And three, if you see the star-studded panel we have for this, you know it's a super massive big deal. To my right, your left, from the 3FN podcast, you know him also as the co-host of 607 TWS, The Wrestling Show. Say hello to Rich.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the ODPH Society and also Nerd Initiative. It's awesome.
Yes. And to my left, your right, do I even try doing your intro or should I just let you go at it?
Coming at you live and direct, straight from a folding chair in the ODPH studios, it is I, Off the Cuff Tom. Thank you so much for having me again on Mr. Ken M. It's always a pleasure. It is a super massive pleasure.
Yes, indeed, because 1 year ago, a book came out that really got fans excited. It made a massive impact and gave birth to what is comics' most exciting universe. You can debate me all you want about this, but trust me, you will not win because the creativity and the characters coming out from each book in this line is absolutely phenomenal, and it has revolutionized what you think about superhero comics to this day. Since that time, a lot has gone down, and we've seen such great introductions of characters as Rogue's Son, Inferno Girl Red, and the Dead Lucky, just to name a few. And this week, almost 1 year to the date, a couple weeks here and there, we have been granted a sequel that is of supermassive proportion and is one that if you're a comic book fan, you need in your collection ASAP if you don't have it already. Now, I can sit here and shill this book all day because I love this universe, but we have some friends on the line that can talk about it just a little more than I can. First off, from the incredible series Rogue's Son, writer Ryan Parrott. From the amazing Dead Lucky, Melissa Flores. From the astonishing Inferno Girl Red, Matt Groom, and from
everybody,
the amazing, phenomenal franchise of the Massiveverse, Radiant Black, and 2023's best new series, No One, Kyle Higgins. And last but certainly not least, I've been told I need to say Supreme Editor Extraordinaire, Michael Busuttil. Thank you.
Mr. Massiveverse himself.
Yes, Mr. Massiveverse himself.
Beard.
Ooh.
I don't know that I like this.
The beard looks great, Michael. I don't know why.
Hey, listen, I'm a fan of beards.
It's the rest of it. The beard is fine.
Michael, it looks like you have a Jesus light over you.
Yeah. Hold on. I'll turn that off.
He's going to part the Red Sea any moment.
No, it's better.
Look at all that glorious follicleness.
Yes, indeed. Well, since last time we spoke, because we've had the honor of speaking to you throughout the past year, Supermassive 1 comes out last year, gives birth to the Massiveverse. How have things changed since now and then?
Oh, well, I think I get less sleep now somehow.
We've confused people apparently with. Did we actually call it Supermassive 1? I thought it was always our intention was always that it was Supermassive and then the year, so Supermassive 2022 and then Supermassive 2023. But I have seen there's some confusion about like numbering of Supermassive 1 versus Supermassive 2023. So that's different, I guess, now.
Yeah, I mean, this time last year, there was one ongoing book, right? We had Radiant Black. Now there is Radiant Black, The Dead Lucky, and Rogue's Son. There's No One. There's Radiant Pink is just wrapping up. We've had Radiant Red, which wrapped up. Inferno Girl Red, Book 1 has come out. Oh boy, we're a lot busier than we were this time last year.
And there's more that we can't actually say out loud yet.
It's only been a year. It feels like this universe is aging in dog years. Like, holy moly. It's amazing. I can't. That's just a lot of stuff to do in a year. I don't know why I didn't realize it until this moment, but yeah, good Lord. Okay.
Yeah, you know how tired you are? It's because we work a lot all the time.
That makes sense, yeah. You know, to be fair, I remember when you guys first pitched me the title Supermassive, I was like lukewarm on it. But then after hearing these guys' intro, I'm like super on board with it now. So thanks, guys.
No,
Yeah,
thank
but they could do that for anything. We could have called it like the hot dog eating power hour, and they'd put the spin on it, and we'd be like, yeah.
You can make that work.
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, it goes to the testament of the creativity and the quality that you're doing. I mean, coming out of the pages of Radiant Black, the fan base was already there. And when this book came out for Supermassive Volume 1 or Supermassive 2022, it really got fans talking. And I have to say, like, as a fan of superhero books, this reminds me so much of what you guys are doing of when Image first came out. Because every time there's a number one that comes out, when Rogue Sun did, when Dead Lucky did, Inferno Go Red, every time there's a number one that comes out, I go to our local comic shop and there is such a buzz and an energy and everybody is talking about it. And everybody in line is just so amped up to get reading it. And then I go online and everybody is just like, everywhere you go, if you're on comics Twitter, is just raving about it, and rightfully so. And just like the impact that you all have made with these characters, to see it's just been a year is just truly astonishing.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
I mean,
appreciate
it's a big legacy to live in, right? I think going all the way back to the starting of Image and the groundwork that those guys laid, and then since then, all of the incredible people that have built up the legacy of Image. All we can do is try and live up to that responsibility and keep taking big swings and doing cool stuff and making sure that we don't water down what it means to do truly create our own stuff.
No,
I actually got emotional when you said that. Like, I actually started to get a little teary. Like, I was 14 when Image came out. I've said this on a lot of calls, but it's true. And I was primed for Image. Like, I followed all of those creators. I followed all the original books. I bought so many of the number ones that I lost all my money. And like, I still have, I mean, I bought the obscure ones, like Troll #1, Super Patriot, like that kind of stuff. And so, like, yeah, deep cuts, right? Like,
yeah,
that's kind of worse. But I loved those books. And to me, the thing that I always loved about Image was that it was like really the first time that I realized that comic books, I realized it was like a job, and like I loved these artists and I wanted to be like them. And so when I followed them, it was like, comic books are more than the heroes at the big two. It's all the stuff that they created. And it just felt like there was this sort of like raw energy and excitement that came around every one of those books. So the fact that you're comparing our books at all of that is, I hope we're a quarter of as exciting as those books are. And like, so like, that's amazing. And like Matt said, like, that's a lot of weight and responsibility and some big shoes to fill. So it's crazy. This has all been kind of a dream, and I can't believe we get to keep doing this. It's really weird.
It's pretty awesome. It's somebody that doesn't have that kind of background in comic books. Like, I started much later in life. You know, I don't have the history of comic books, and I have the love for comic books, but it wasn't born, you know, when I was 8 years old reading comic books, or 14, because I just didn't have access to those books at that time. For me, what really made me fall in love with this universe and continues to fall in love with the universe is the passion that I see for the storytelling from every one of these guys that I'm working with every single time. Like, I fell platonically in love with Ryan one time when we were at Boom together, and like, we were trying to solve a problem, and he just got so excited he jumped up like Tom Cruise and like almost jumped on the table because he was so excited about a solve. And you know, and
that you gave me, by the way, that you gave. Yeah.
But I mean, it was your story, you know. So
yeah,
like,
but you just skipped over the cool part, which is that you fixed it.
Well, you know, but it's the creativity and the passion that these guys have. Or like, even listening, you know, I do a lot of work with Kyle, and you know, I don't drink, not because I'm semi-allergic, but like, we'd be at a hotel bar or an airport bar, doing some crazy project together, and like, he was just telling me about all these exciting ideas that he had. And you know, and Michael and Matt, who, you know, I first only knew through their podcast. You know, I started reading their stuff, and I just became, just as a producer first and then a writer, just humbled and awed by the amount of passion they have for telling these stories and telling them uniquely and creatively in an interesting way. And I think it says a lot for me, even though I'm in this universe and I'm writing my own book. I am genuinely excited to read Rogue Sun every month, and to read like, I kind of almost don't want to know what they're planning sometimes, because I love that page turn. Like, I have not asked Matt what's going to happen with Inferno Girl Red, because I genuinely want to read it and find out. And I think that's because we have that level, I think, of infectious enthusiasm for our projects. I hope it bleeds out on the page, and I hope that the fans kind of can see that love as well. And I think that's part of what makes Massiverse so special.
No, absolutely. I think it definitely resonates off the page, and especially with the one-on-one connections you have with the fans, too. I mean, to think about just the creative stuff that has come through, like the QR codes for the animated short for Radiant Black, and then you talk about right now the vote for arguably one of the biggest decisions in all the Massiverse with who will be Radiant Black. Will it be well, the obvious choice is Team Nathan, and then you can vote for Team Marshall if you want. But
if you want to be wrong, you can vote for Marshall.
Exactly. But giving fans that option and making your creation so vulnerable and wide open to connect with them on that level. I mean, I think that's one thing that just makes it stand out, that you're giving the audience something so special with just doing things in such a next level thinking and connecting with on that if you're sitting there going like, oh, I'm so used to reading, this story and I got to go read X, Y, and Z to get to the whole picture. You're not doing that here. It's like you're giving self-contained series, which everybody can just read on their own. They don't need to read everything. But by the time you're done with a series, you want to read somebody else's series in the Massiverse. And connecting on that level, I think, has just been such a big win. And giving the fans really just something fresh and exciting to pick up every time at the local comic shop. I mean, that's the core essence of the Massiverse, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. We all do. A lot of that really comes from kind of a melting pot here where it was cool. Like I got to know Matt and Michael really just kind of coincidentally because I agreed to do a podcast interview on Ranger Danger when I started the book. And I was just taking a flyer on that. And especially then, I wasn't really doing podcasts. Like I was doing Power Rangers, the book, but like I hadn't had a great experience at DC and was kind of coming out of that. And I just directed a big new short film and trying to figure out how to weaponize it to get my feature going. And I was just in this place of kind of in between. And, the Power Ranger book certainly changed things for me. Not only kind of like trajectory wise as far as the types of stuff and stories I would continue to tell, obviously with things like the Massiverse, but also just kind of like with helping me to fall in love with superhero stories again. And Matt and Michael coming at this and explaining the fandom to me and talking about Rangers, something I loved growing up. So it was still very pure to me. And to be able to come into this, which was in a lot of ways, no disrespect to the show, but it was in a lot of ways virgin snow to come in and be able to build out material in a format that you weren't limited by budget in the way the original show was and pre-existing footage and things like that. And so like just being able to continue to talk with these guys, what started as a monthly thing and then just continued on from there, and as a like mind talking about often, wouldn't it be cool if, and then in a lot of cases, they were things that I was able to then go actually try to make happen. The short film that Melissa, I don't know if it was on this podcast or the last one, Melissa was talking about doing the Lord Draken short film, like that came out of, I had an idea with JDF and it was like, okay, well, how do we actually do this? The Shattered Grid Live table read, that was a Matt or Michael idea. And then we figured out, well, then how do we actually do it? And when you're used to doing things and making things and finishing things, and then you meet other people that are as committed to doing that exact thing as well, the finishing things part, and they're really good at what they do, then it just becomes, it's still a lot of work, but it becomes very fulfilling and fun because everything we're doing, we're really trying to, commit to the bit, for lack of a better term, but also take full advantage of not only the concept, but like what the state of superhero comics is. And like so much of what I love as a storyteller comes from not only superhero comics and the ones I loved growing up, but also all the superhero media and in terms of the movies and the cartoons and things like that. And I was just talking about this a little while ago, but like I grew up, in the special features era of DVD sales and behind the scenes documentaries and viral marketing campaigns and things like that. And so when you're able to tie some of that stuff, which does or can feel like there's a little bit of magic in the world, when you can tie that to narrative, then you're doing something that is more encompassing. And I think that based on all the different skill sets that we all have, it's been cool to be able to kind of explore those other, mediums and territories, and trying to make that kind of encompassing stuff for ourselves.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I think it definitely comes across like that, and especially for what you've done for superhero comics now. I mean, it's so refreshing to see. And then it really, like I say, it kind of spawned from Supermassive 2022. And then, I mean, how soon after that issue did the idea of doing a sequel come about, and like the process behind that?
It was pretty quickly. I think we keep working out when we started talking about it, and then I keep forgetting. It was like a couple of, I think after we did that book, we were all like, so we're going to do another one of these, right? And then by a couple of months later, we'd had like an official email going out that was, hey everyone, so let's start talking.
Now, when you were figuring that out, where did that lead for each of your individual stories to be able to get to the point where 2023 started at? Like, were you working your own narratives to eventually get to this point?
Yeah, that was one of the big challenges with this special, was that we're all telling stories that are by and large structured in similar amount of like 6-issue arcs basically. So that means we all are kind of ending arcs around the same time, which makes scheduling a Supermassive really great. But it also means that in this case, we're all entering really interesting new status quos at roughly the same time. So that meant having, though, to write this story far in advance of actually writing the issues that lead into the status quo, to give Daniele enough time to draw what is essentially a 50-page blockbuster.
Absolutely. And speaking of that, I mean, the book is out right now. It's a phenomenal read. Can we talk a little bit about what went into this issue? Like, what's the basic plot for it, and who the major players are for this go around for Supermassive?
Sure, yeah.
Kyle, do you want to maybe start talking about the Radiant Black side of things, and everyone can talk about where their own guys are at?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. When we meet Nathan and Marshall there, this is post Radiant Black 24, so they know they have to make this choice. However, the choice as to only one of them can be Radiant Black before the start of the Catalyst War. But at this point, there's still a little bit of denial there, particularly on the part of Marshall, thinking that they'll figure out a clever solution out of this, and ultimately even maybe it's a magic solution. And we say that because an offer comes basically to their doorstep by way of Rogue Sun, who Ryan can pitch where Rogue Sun's at here.
Yeah, when we first started talking about this, I knew that the volume 2 was going to be about sort of Dylan sort of stepping into becoming, basically being a solo hero, trying to fill his father's shoes and stuff. But I knew that I wanted to bring in like one of the, since it's a legacy hero, I wanted to bring in one of the original Rogue Suns. And the idea was that I was like, well, let's bring the first one and make that a medieval Rogue Sun. And when we did that started to work into the story about, okay, if we do that, maybe we can talk about some of the other characters and our legacy characters and get into and flesh out the world and the universe of Massiverse a little bit. So, but it was a really difficult one because I knew at the end of the series, at the end of my arc, that Caleb was going to take over Dylan's body and basically become sort of the new Rogue Sun, which made it really hard to pitch where my character was to people without spoiling the entire thing. I think, like Matt pointed out during one of my interviews, I'm like, well, Dylan's just a very different person by the end of our run, not realizing that was literal. But that's sort of where it said it provided an interesting thing because it brought us a lot of lore. It brought a character that could come in and then bring everybody together, and yet be connecting both the past characters and the present characters. So coming into it, weirdly enough, Dylan has still not met any of the Supermassive people after 2 crossovers, but hopefully maybe some down the line.
Nice.
Well, BB, obviously just missed out on the first Supermassive, so like hell would freeze over before I let that happen again. And so for BB, it worked out pretty well that we were planning the end of volume 1 of the 6-issue arc right around the time we were planning the Supermassive, and so it actually affected our plot because we were initially planning on ending Dead Lucky a little differently, and as we started talking about it, it just made sense to put BB in a place where to push up the timeline of her working for Morrow, and ultimately the choice came for Eddie to die because of Supermassive.
Oh,
because
wow.
we needed BB to be in a particular place, and it made sense for the story for that to be the reason, and because we knew she had to lose somebody, and for Eddie's arc, when he felt alone and lost and left behind, and he took control of his own narrative and lost his life in that way, it made sense for his arc to end the way it did, but also knowing full well how that would affect BB, it would put her in the place that she needed to be in for Supermassive, and also allow us to go into issue 7 with her in a different space. And so we're kind of, when we end issue 6 and we start issue 7, there's a little bit of time, and we were able to time it thanks to Michael and his incredible schedule, that when we end issue 6, Supermassive happens, and come back in issue 7, and there's a space where she has not dealt with her grief, and she hasn't really dealt with what it means to lose Eddie, and there's that opportunity there for Supermassive 2023, and so it just ended up working out perfectly for her to really just absorb that in a way that she can't with his ex-fiance and her new on again off again girlfriend, and all these different baggage that exists in San Francisco. There's now a place that she can actually be with like-minded people and really think about who she lost and what she would do to get it back. And of course that heartbreaking narrative where she can't, she just loses people and they don't come back, and so it worked out.
I guess on the Inferno Go Red side of things, because in the first Supermassive we were seeing a bit of a preview of who Cassia would become. So in relation to everything else, it was kind of a look into the future. We realized that if Cassia were to turn up in this one, that would probably place her even further ahead. And we're all very resistant to creating any sort of confusion in the universe. Like, we don't want to have like a Fast and Furious situation where the timeline order is different to the release order and you have to sort of get charts out to explain everything. So we decided pretty early on that it might be better for Cassia to miss out on this one. And it also helped us out in a way, I think, because it helped us set the tone for Supermassives and explain to people that you can't expect to see the same characters in every one. It's going to be a little different every time, especially as the universe expands. It's just going to be whatever's right for the story. It's not going to be the same combinations of things over and over again. But we did have a space then in the narrative for a new character who could be something of an antagonist, potentially initially, but then be brought more into the fold. And we needed to make sure that this character felt like they belonged in all of this and had some connections to our universe, or our universes even, so that they didn't feel like they were just, created for this event. They're an organic part of the universe. And also that they felt like they folded in thematically with what everybody else is going through. It just so happened that because of where all the stories were lining up, this story became about, as Melissa was alluding to, this idea of having to accept taking losses sometimes and dealing with grief and regret without it transforming you into something you don't want to become. So we needed this character to sort of be able to fit into that story as well. So I took over the job of creating that character and leading that side of things with Thomas and the new character.
Right on. With the success of last year's story, was there any additional pressure on making this year's Supermassive?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, we talked quite a bit about this year's and what genre we wanted to play in and how we wanted, there are certain sequels that I won't name, but there are certain sequels that we all know that were, shall we say, super massively disappointing compared to the original, and we didn't want to be one of those. And at the same time, we'd created a scenario with the status quos that it is challenging to be accessible if you're not really careful in how you introduce everything and everyone. But I could not be more proud of what we, have put together with this one. So it just came about it took a little longer to crack at the start. It took a few calls before we landed on what would make sense and the vehicle to do it all through.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely stepped up and it lived up to the expectation, and especially with Tomasin coming in and making an instant impact, handling a rogue son right out the gate. Sorry, Ryan.
It was a really, really good fight that you didn't see. Like, it was so close. Like, it could have gone either way, honestly.
That was the big thing because, like I say, Tomasin comes in there, and by the time we see the fight, so I mean, I believe you. There's got to be a prequel for this one. That's got to slide in there.
We should do a special one shot that's just the rest of that fight, so that people can see just how, like, Supermassive 2023 0.
Yeah, love it.
It's like a Deadpool 2 moment where, like, he comes back and he, like, wins the fight.
Oh, that'd be amazing. And just seeing the newest addition into the Massiverse and where the story goes, and the story is so well done too, and especially where it fits right now, the end of a lot of arcs for the series now, and it's almost like a phase 2 next wave, because with everything coming out, and especially with everything that you have for each book coming out in following this with the Catalyst War and the new stat quos for Dead Lucky and Rogue Son. I mean, this was kind of like almost like hitting the reset button, and then here we go into what we have lined up.
Yeah, I think like it's impossible to deny the influence of the Marvel Cinematic Universe in 2023, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think in some ways, like, these are kind of like Avengers movies, right? Like, this is, let's see where everyone's at, let's throw them all together, and then let's throw them out of this back into their own stuff and let them get up to their own crazy adventures on their own.
Absolutely. And speaking of those crazy adventures, we know that coming out of this obviously is a few big events, but I think the one that a lot of fans are really hyped up about right now is the Catalyst War, especially coming out of the big vote that's coming out. And Kyle, can you talk a little bit about what we should be expecting with that?
A surprising good time.
Okay.
Oh, Kyle, but the thing is, it's such a bad time for some of these people.
It's gonna be
the readers will have a good time.
Some of them.
Yeah. Oh boy.
It's been really fun to watch the vote in basically real time. Michael built the mechanism on the site so that we can see it as it's been happening for the last couple weeks. We have, as we're recording this, we have 8 days left, I believe, on the vote. So it'll be over on a week from tomorrow. But that is just basically the setup to what is the most narratively ambitious story I've ever tried to tell. Oh. So we're going. Ryan's shaking his head, but Ryan, you know all the moves. So
I do, and I'm terrified for you and everyone else, because I don't want to oversell it, but I also don't want to lie to people. So it's a hard balancing act.
Yeah, it's a big story. And I would also recommend that everyone who has plans to be at San Diego Comic-Con that is listening to this definitely be on the lookout for our Massiverse panel, which will be issue 25 comes out the Wednesday of San Diego Comic-Con, and then we'll have a panel in there. We don't know the date yet, but we're going to have a lot to talk about at the panel in San Diego.
Oh, very nice. I wish I could get out there for it. So is there any chance it'll be streaming, or just got to kind of go off our favorite news sites for that one?
I don't know that it'll be streaming. I'm looking into potentially, I don't know if they'll let me, but potentially recording it, maybe putting it out through our Black Market newsletter.
Okay.
We'll see. But
If not, we'll do our best to like tweet and share all of the news that comes out.
Okay.
yeah, there should be some good news that comes out of it. And as far as the event itself, yeah, this is a not only are we going to learn quite a bit of mythology about the Radiants and Catalyst, the Machine Empire, and what they are and who leads them and where they come from, but also like what their deal is. This is a story that is also designed to fundamentally challenge Radiant Black. And the vote that everyone is partaking in right now is to determine which Radiant Black Catalyst is going to fundamentally challenge.
Oh. Oh, wow.
And from there, I can't say anything else.
Okay.
Guys, there's
my
stuff
favorite-
in here that Kyle pitched, and I tried to talk him out of it. It's
Oh, man.
So
My favorite thing is to go back and listen to this interview after you've read it, and that'll be even more fun. And Kyle knows what I mean by that. But like, there's just come back and listen to what he said after you've read it, and it'll be great.
The question is, Kyle, have you written both storylines just in case, so whatever happens? I figure we can at least say that part.
we're prepared for both outcomes of the vote.
Now, are we ready for like a Jason Todd, skin your teeth kind of, vote? Or
Well, that has been interesting. Michael, you can talk about the data a little bit.
Yeah, no one has ever had more than like 58-60% of the vote at any point.
Wow.
It's like at the moment someone's in the lead, but it is certainly not a landslide. And with a week left to go, like a strong surge of votes in one direction could still swing it either way.
speechless.
No, I can definitely see that because it goes back and forth every day. I see on social media hashtag let Marshall cook, and like that thing is now taken on storm, and and then it always gets responded with hashtag Team Nathan. I mean, it goes to show how much these characters have connected. I mean, the closest relationship I could say with that is like Hal Jordan and Kyle Rayner way back in the day with Green Lantern. That you have two characters that are different but have both won over the fan base so much that this was. I remember reading the issue and I'm going like, how the heck do you choose? I mean, for me, it took me a couple seconds because I'm a big Team Nathan guy, so that it really didn't waste a lot of time for me. But like for a lot of fans, I could definitely see it going back and forth.
It's been pretty. It's been very humbling and fulfilling and surprising. Seeing how many people writing like these very passionate pieces on which character should be Radiant Black. It's cool. I'm glad. I mean, look, that was the goal. This is an idea that we've been building towards for 2 years now, and from the get-go, I mean, that was always, when Ryan and I both, when we talked about early days of Rogue Sun and early days of Radiant Black, like there was a football game that we were at, and I remember sitting in the bleachers just kind of like broadly pitching like, well, a year 1 model and then like a year 2 model could be this, and then like, well, that leads into like a year 3 type event. And just to be now doing it is very fulfilling. Yeah, I lost my train of thought a little bit, but
that beard of his is going to be white in a year. Just like this. I'm telling you, it's coming. Enjoy it while it lasts, my friend.
No, it's just cool to see. It's cool to see people. That's all I was trying to say, is that we knew when we decided very early on that this would be something that I wanted to build to. It meant really, you need to really make sure that you're doing a good job with each character and making both Nathan and Marshall someone that you can root for or see being Radiant Black, because I wanted this choice to be really hard for people.
Definitely lived up to that too. And then going to the next Massiverse book, that solicitations are saying that it's coming out June 7th. Has that changed for the Dead Lucky number 7?
It has. Hold on, I've got dates.
Okay.
It'll be July 5th now.
Okay. So Melissa,
It was my birthday, and I was like, Michael, I absolutely refuse to write this script if it doesn't come out any other month.
That's exactly the reason.
Not at all, because I just was super slow and very overwhelmed.
No, it's the birthday thing.
Yeah.
well, Melissa, can you talk about what we should be expecting now with BB post the Battle of San Francisco and obviously in the new stat quo working for Morrow?
I think you should expect everything. I think there's a realm of expectation that that we very justifiably set up, that she's going to go in and take out Morrow and blow it up from the inside. But I think the question then becomes, after a few months and Morrow has had taken hold of San Francisco, is whether or not people really want her to. And a lot of it is going to be really focusing on BB herself and the origins of her powers and what they are, especially with I don't know if people caught it in issue 6 that when Eddie died, she didn't see him. And so she's going to be doing a lot of inner exploration as to why she can't see Eddie when she can see other people. And it's a different BB that you see in 1 through 6, because she's back in her element. She is the director of special crimes for Morrow. And that means she's doing a lot of really cool, fun stuff with flashy toys. And when you're on special missions like that, it's very easy to ignore your inner trauma because you have a bigger purpose. And so it's a lot of it, her being forced to confront things that she necessarily didn't want to. But I'm really excited about this arc. I think you're going to see Georgia step up quite a bit, who had a minimal part, but now that Eddie is gone, you see the brand, the PR perspective of Morrow in a different way, which is a lot of fun. Maria has a little bit of a different role. You see a lot of the Salvation Gang people that we saw glimpses of, like Winston and some of the Salvation Gang people that were with her at the end of issue 6. You see them a little bit more. So it's it's establishing a new status quo in a really fun way that takes us into, I hope, a really satisfying arc for BB.
Can't wait to check that out. Ryan, so obviously another stat quo, another Rogue Son. I want to say, is this now the third one in 12 issues? Because we had Marcus, we had Dylan, and now Caleb. What can we be expecting now coming out of the new switch up?
Well, during that conversation, I realized that Melissa, we should have a Rogue Son Dead Lucky team up annual called We See Dead People. We should just totally be doing that.
Yes.
I'm half kidding. Well, we'll see. But
can we get Haley Joel Osment?
Yeah, exactly. He'll just make a camp. He'll do the audiobook version.
I've actually pitched Maria going over to New Orleans and changing jobs, and being like, another one that sees ghosts? What the hell?
Hey man, everybody in that town sees ghosts. But yeah, coming out of Rogue Son, yeah, we obviously have a big shift in the status quo. But it's the same kind of it's the same if you go back to the beginning, right? It's still somebody in the Rogue Son suit, but has so Dylan was in the Rogue Son suit, and he had a dad who he hated standing over his shoulder. Now he gets to be the guy standing over the shoulder and kind of using his banter and annoyance to plague a 17th century knight in present day. But coming out, it'll be a new status quo with that. The new arc will probably dig into some other Rogue Sons. I don't think it's just going to be just one. I'd like to get a little more into the legacy of all that how long that's been around, and the different people who've worn it, and how they've been heroes and maybe not heroes. And then what else? We'll deal with the first arc was about was a metaphor for a messy divorce, and the second one was about step parents. And the third one, this arc, which we're calling Night Sun, right? That's what we're calling it right now. We'll just call it that. Yeah, it is now. This one's more about family, both the family that, everybody thinks about family, but the family that you're born with and the family that you make along the way. So
nice. Can't wait to see that. And Matt, I'm sure you get asked this a million times, but we got to ask you, what is next for Cassie Acosta?
Well, for the market, the next thing is that the trade of book 1 will be hitting shelves in just a couple of weeks. It looks amazing.
Look at
so
that
if you haven't read
product
Fondor,
drop.
That is
look at
amazing.
that. Expert marketer.
Not shameless.
Yeah. So if you if you haven't read Vertigo Red yet, absolutely grab that, check it out. As for what's next for Cassia, more soon. We have exciting plans, but nothing that I can say right this second, unfortunately. Other than Erica and Igor and I and Kyle and Michael and myself have we've been talking. We've been talking. And we're excited.
Nice. I think I get DM'd probably the most about Inferno Girl Red and when she is coming back on the show. Like, we get hit up so much about that. So I know the fans are definitely excited for it. And if you have not picked it up yet, go out and get the single issues right now, and then obviously get the trade paperback when it drops, because it is definitely going to be worthwhile picking up. Rich, I know you had a question about sequels.
No, I thought that Tom was going to take that one.
Oh no, Tom's just reading his notes.
Oh, we're going into like my notes now. All right, awesome. Will there be a Supermassive 3? Or should I say 2024?
I mean,
If the story's there, right?
Or if there's a 2024.
Could we see anything spawn from that, from what we just saw, possibly?
I mean, all sorts of things can spawn from the story that we just told. Some of them might even be Spawn. Yeah, I mean, maybe. Well, maybe. There's some thoughts.
There's potential. There's potential for everywhere. The huge sandbox you guys are writing is just amazing. So trust me, it's there.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think now with the success of the 2 issues, now the fans are.
Let's see what this one sells first, and then we'll and then we'll talk.
Fair enough. But I just know, going off the online success, I just, with everybody raving about this, that the fans are definitely clamoring for that. And I mean, the possibilities are endless what you guys could do with this.
Oh, thank you. No, it is very creatively fulfilling to work with everyone on these. And, you know, they've now become fun little problems to crack so far for the last 2 years, at least once a year, where it's like, how do we do a new one, and how do we do it in a contained way that's still pushing our narratives of our main books forward, but is also, you know, contained and standalone enough for new readers. And how do we not repeat ourselves from the one before? So those are all the factors that go into what another one would look like if we did it. And but yeah, personally, I would love to do another one. That's where my vote is lying. I think it's a fun format, and I think in the way that we have built the books to stand alone and be accessible in their own ways, that way, this is a really fun kind of feature that we've built into kind of like the publishing DNA to allow us to have those kind of crossover adventures, but just in a very kind of, you know, planned way.
Yeah, because I think it's such another, you know, feather in the cap for what you do with the Massiverse. Is just when you see these crossovers, it feels like an event. It doesn't feel like an issue. I mean, I might sound cliche to say, but it's like when we finally see, because there's not a team book out in the Massiverse, but when you see these characters get together, we know it's something special. We know it's going to be something memorable. And obviously with this issue, and especially with a few of the surprises that are in, and I don't want to spoil them because I'm stressing to everybody, if you haven't gone to your local comic shop to go buy this, you need to go immediately after you hear this episode or watch this episode and buy 2 copies. Literally, you're going to need to do this. But with that said, it's just now you have so many fans that are asking for different team ups and different mix ups. Is there any chance that you would ever mix up and do maybe one based on all the bad guys per se?
Sure, there's a story.
Like do one like
I think the goal for us is always that, like, it has to come out of a story that we're excited about. So if someone came up with something and was like, I think if this person met this person, met this person, here's something cool, and we all go, yep, then yeah, maybe.
Fair enough.
I want to, like, where, because of the flexibility afforded to us by Image and doing things in this way, we're always very open to and looking for different ways of combining things and telling stories and new formats to give people these experiences in different ways. So I think, like, we always want to be surprising people, and that comes down to the next time you get a hit of something in this sort of way, maybe it's not like the way you got it last time. So
Yeah. I mean, I think when we talked at C2E2, we were talking about ways to expand the universe in interesting ways. And I remember Kyle was super generous and let me shift, who is very much a villain in Radiant Black. But when he was in The Dead Lucky, he was actually an ally for BB and more of a, because she had no concept of what he was doing in Chicago. She just knew what he was there to do for her.
Right.
And I think that's what's really interesting about these characters and even about the villains is that, you know, the nuance to them allows them to be played with different ways. Like, you know, I don't think BB, aside from being mad that he walked out on her, I don't think BB sees Shift as necessarily like a villain. I think she sees him as a mercenary and a tool to be used when she needs him. And so, so even like a story with all villains, like who's to say one of them isn't actually going to be a hero by the end of it, depending on what they're going for and what they're doing. And I think that's what's really fun about it.
Absolutely. With con seasons coming up, you already mentioned about San Diego. Is there any other ones that everybody will be attending? And is New York Comic Con on that list?
Kyle, we're both going to be at Boston, correct?
We're both gonna be at Boston. I'll be at San Diego and Raleigh and Beer City Comic Con. If I
you going to Miami?
Where's Beer City? Is that the real name of the city?
If I make it out of Beer City alive and sober, I will then be New York. Yes.
Carl also doing Chicago at the Library Association conference at the end.
We're meeting with the librarians.
Nice.
My heroes. It's our hope for Erica, Igor, and myself to all be at New York Comic Con this year. I don't know if that's going to happen for me personally. I'm trying to make that happen, but I will say it's my intention. I've never been to the city of New York in my life, so that'd be a cool thing for me to do, and I'd love to see people there. So he's hoping.
I am also hoping to be there on account of it sounds like everybody else in comics is going to be there, and I would like to meet them.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I have to go now, even though I have absolutely nothing to do there. I'm just going to show up and be like the person no one invited. And like,
Miss, I'm not sure if you know, you write a creator and comic series at Image Comics called The Dead Lucky. It's quite good and popular. I'm sure people would love to see you.
Yeah, Missy, I'll invite you to New York Comic Con. There you go. Now you've been invited.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, is that how it works?
It's like a vampire. Yeah, it's like a vampire. Yeah.
I mean, you guys
Matt,
just tell them.
me.
You could tell them that the oversized guy with the beard invited you.
Oh, that'll narrow it down.
I'll invite them, and then they can just come to me. I'll just be like, yeah, they're all invited.
Absolutely.
Set them up.
So before we let you go, we have to ask, kind of a little non-comic question, but since Supermassive 2023 is a sequel to Supermassive 2022, what is everybody's favorite sequel of all time?
Oh,
Wow.
Can I?
Oh,
okay,
wow.
I'm gonna start, and I'm gonna cheat.
Okay.
Based on what I am hearing about Across the Spider-Verse this week,
Yes.
it sounds like
It's gonna be
it
your
will be my favorite sequel.
Yeah, a lot of good buzz about that one coming out.
Yeah, Oppenheimer 2 is going to be fantastic. Like, the really amazing film.
You know, I've said Baz Luhrmann should make Elvis too. Like, I know Elvis died, but most movies are pretend. So just make up stuff that happened next.
Especially his.
I'm going to go video game. Although technically this is a trilogy, but Red Dead Redemption.
Yep.
Ooh.
Excellent choice.
Well, I'm gonna jump on that bandwagon and choose a video game as well then, and say Mass Effect 2.
Okay.
Okay.
It's a good one.
No pressure, Ryan. You're bringing it home.
Better than mine. Damn it.
Oh, I actually have to come up with one. Oh, okay. Oh, man, my favorite sequel of all time... Return to Oz. The freaking Wheelers on that movie scared me for years, and the moment they go in and have to steal the when Dorothy has to steal the vial off of the headless witches, like in her bedroom in the middle, that and with all the heads staring at her, like that's a terrifying movie. If you have not seen Return to Oz, I highly recommend it. It'll change the way you look at Wizard of Oz.
Pure nightmare fuel. I will say that. And also on top of that, it proves my point that all of us who are, at least elder millennials and older, we grew up on kids' movies that were made to terrify everybody. And that's great.
I'm I'm gonna go with Guyver, Dark Hero.
Ooh. Well
Takes me back
played.
to early '90s Sci-Fi Channel when they actually spelled sci-fi.
Yeah.
Solid Snake is Guyver. This is a tough one. Man.
Pitch Perfect 2. No.
Go with that.
Oh,
sure.
I have a film, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, the best
No,
film.
Matt, you made me watch this.
Mute button.
This is the one where they go back to Japan, right?
Mute button.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. You're talking about the best film.
Matt, it's bad. It's bad,
It's the
Matt.
best. The best.
Matt, do you
I don't-
remember
I-
that? Matt,
It got Oscar snubbed, and I've never gotten it.
But the only
Matt,
thing
do you
that came
remember that
good
there's
out
a
of it,
part in it that's a reference to a cross-media promotion that they didn't do, but they kept it in the movie anyway?
I did, yeah. I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of all of that. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think what I would probably have to go with. I just saw it at an Academy screening the other night. Again, but The Dark Knight. Like I hadn't seen it
Yeah.
like 5 or 6 years, and man, it's pretty strong. And you know what's
Good.
crazy about it too is I went through a period. I watched it the last time I saw it. I remember feeling what I had heard, in years since it came out. People talk about it being like a kind of a product of its Bush era kind of time. But watching it again, and I felt that whenever I last saw it. But watching it again now, it felt incredibly timely again, with so much of what's going on in the world in different ways, and talking about perception and creating myth and media and just it's a strong one.
I do hear Jonah Nolan's a fan of Rogue Sun. If only there was proof of this.
Oh yeah.
If there was, we definitely put it on the front cover of some sort of comic book.
Well, before Ken wraps it up and asks the final question, I would kick Padawan J, who usually is on the ODPH podcast. I'm filling in for. He would really kick me in the ass if I did not ask Ryan. Ken's a diehard Buffalo Bills fan.
Man, you had to go there.
You're a Miami
You
Dolphins
had to
fan.
go there.
Can you tell him what he should expect this year from the Miami Dolphins?
you expect things from them?
All right. I was going to be nice, but now it's going to be exactly what happened in
See,
week
I-
3 last
I-
year.
see,
Come
I-
down to Miami where it's nice and warm.
See, I was waiting for you to say your favorite sequel was the Bills losing 4 Super Bowls. I was waiting on that from our.
I don't even need to be here.
See, I was waiting on it because I was like, okay, if we're gonna start talking football, I was holding back because you know what's gonna happen. When we start talking football.
Well, I understand this, but I know Pad would be mad at me if I didn't ask.
He's a Patriots fan too. Of all
I
people.
know it's terrible.
Yeah, I know. That's why I tried telling him. He should just jump ship. Brady's gone. Nobody, look, any wiser to him. Nope. He's still sitting there trying to stir the pot.
Here's the best compliment I can give.
Jump off the ship.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this. The best compliment I can give you is, as a Dolphins fan, I can admit that Josh Allen is amazing. So that's the best thing I can say.
I appreciate it.
Is he a Dolphin?
No, he plays for the Bills. He's really, really good.
Okay.
Yeah. But like I say, between our teams, because we can go on that full football rant. Between Buffalo and Miami, I think we're going to both have good seasons. If Tua's back 100%, that season last year is a whole different ball of wax. And I'm not even worried about Aaron Rodgers with the Jets. That's an afterthought.
Wait, Buffalo don't have bills. They're like cows.
Philadelphia doesn't have Eagles, but we have that team.
The Bills fans jump through
Killer and talented
tables. I mean, we're not the
lads
smartest
named
people in the
after
world.
Football team.
Maybe.
Buffalo Bill.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the singular version.
Weird country.
American football is an interesting experience, especially if
Hey,
if-
I've learned. Speaking of weird country, I've learned all about. I'm a happy little Vegemite, so don't tell me about weird country.
Oh no, I don't like it when you have ammunition to return fire.
Oh man.
Hey, you never know where you get sports teams here. Listen, there's no lakes in LA, but they have the LA Lakers.
That's
Reasons.
a fantastic point.
I like the one that there's no
Started
Utah.
in Minnesota. Hold on, they started in Minnesota.
Well, yeah,
That's where
Minneapolis. Yeah,
Minnesota-
they were
Right.
the Minneapolis
Yeah.
Lakers.
Yeah, but,
But
they
the
moved
Jazz
lakes.
moved to Utah where they don't allow music.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like, it makes no sense. Yeah.
Because music leads to hand holding, and hand holding leads to
Wow.
Well, we're not going to go any deeper than that, or else I have to get Diesel out here for this.
Yeah, exactly. We're not behind a Patreon wall, so. But we'll just kind of wrap things up. Supermassive 2023 is in stores. Final pitch. If somebody's listening to this for the first time, somebody is watching this on Nerd Initiative for the first time, hearing about this book, why should they go out, in your words, to go get this book?
If you love fun, optimistic superhero stories with a ton of heart and all the funny, like Into the Spider-Verse and presumably the upcoming greatest sequel ever, Across the Spider-Verse, then Supermassive 2022 and 2023, this year's, are very much for you.
Absolutely. Can't stress it
My
enough.
sales pitch.
If you don't have this book in your collection, and note, I have two because it's that damn good, you need to run out and you need to go pick it up at your local comic shops, along with Inferno Go Red, along with Rogue Sun, The Dead Lucky, Radiant Pink, which is out. The finale is there this week too, so we definitely want to plug that. Is Madshell shipping now after that issue?
I mean, I ship it. I can only hope other people do as well.
I saw a couple
I love
posts
that. I'd love
online.
to see more of it.
Yeah,
Did you just call it Madshell?
I saw it. Yeah,
He coined it. That's a thing now.
yeah. I've been seeing that pick up steam
Wouldn't
online.
it be
So
marshy? Wouldn't that be better?
I mean, maybe it could be.
we need a vote.
Yeah, but that might
Need
have
another vote.
that might be
We already
the.
have a
All right,
vote.
I'll build the website.
We'll have to do.
Also, last thing, a shout out to Daniele Di Nicolo and Walter Bayamonte and Becky
Yes.
Carey, who drew, colored, and lettered this 50-page behemoth. And God, it was so awesome to work with Daniele and Walter again. And I think they delivered something that is visually unlike any other superhero book on the stands right now.
Absolutely. Like I say, you need to pick up all these books. Radiant Black. If you haven't voted yet, make sure you go make the vote happen. Team Nathan, Team Marshall, whatever you're choosing. And you also want to make sure you're picking up No One as well. And the podcast, too. There's so much amazing things coming out from the Black Market Narrative team. If you're a comic book fan, you need to have it in your collection. And you need to make it a monthly, weekly thing. I'm telling you, if you're not picking it up, you're completely missing out. So that said, I want to thank my panel that joined us here as well. Rich from 3FN.
Thank you so much for having me.
Tom from Off the Cuff with Tom.
Ken, always a pleasure. Thank you so much, and be excellent to each other.
And of course, thank you to our guests, Matt Groom, Michael Busuttil, Melissa Flores, Ryan Parrott, and Kyle Higgins. Thank you for checking out the special edition of the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. Go buy Supermassive. We'll see you next time.
It's such waste of time swiping left and swiping right on people you could know. 'Cause anyone who's worth a damn be worth way more than a picture could ever show. You could find the right light, find the right angle, and never find your soul. And it can feel like a losing battle, and this plot is full of holes. This modern way of finding love just makes me feel so alone. And I can't be the only one sick of staring at my phone. So look up, talk to me, a better way to spend our energy. Just look up, talk to me. We don't have to float alone on the open sea. Don't know that I believe in the old time fable. Everyone has just one true love. All I know is you're across this table, and you're all I'm thinking of. So look up, talk to me, a better way to spend our energy. Just look up, talk to me. We don't have to float alone on the open sea. Talk to me, swiping left and swiping right on people you could know. Whoa.